Celox Rapid is probably the most effective Z-fold hemostat on the market. Celox Rapid comes in a nice, compact Z-fold packaging that fits nicely into any medical pack and is impregnated with both a hemostat and a pharmacological glue that allows the operator to pack the wound and generate a pseudo blood clot within 60 seconds or until the bleeding stops. When we open the Z-fold gauze, the concertina fashion of the Z-fold means that it's really compact and feeds nicely into the wound. Again, can be done by a single operator or with an assistant feeding the gauze to the primary operator. Okay, so using our stepwise approach to catastrophic hemorrhage control, sometimes if a pressure dressing isn't enough or if the bleed is in a particularly awkward area such as a junctional area, perhaps in the groin or the neck for example, then we may have to employ a wound packing technique in order to focus that pressure directly over the site of the bleeding. What's really important with deep cavitaceous type wounds is that we need to really get that pressure into the site of the bleed. Sometimes a misconception is that by placing direct pressure over the top of the wound will stop the bleed, but if you're not focusing the pressure at the actual insult of the artery, then that's not going to be effective. So sometimes we have to get amongst the wound, get deep inside, and we have to focus that pressure internally. So on this occasion, we've got a wound where we've assessed that it's bleeding significantly. It's a deep cavitaceous wound, and we need to focus that pressure inside. So what we actually need to do is get inside, find the actual insult, and stop the bleed. And this can actually be done with a single finger. The key to this technique is to use accuracy and dexterity rather than brute force. So instead of applying lots of direct pressure on top of the wound, it's about using focused pressure on the actual site of the bleed. So I've now got the situation under control. I've got my finger over the femoral artery, which is bleeding significantly, and I've now temporarily arrested the bleed. What I need to do now though really is I'm pretty much stuck in this position. So what I need to do is transition my direct digital pressure into a hemostat. So my hemostat of choice is going to be Celox Rapid. It's a Z-fold gauze that we're going to use to effectively plug the wound, cause a pseudo clot over the insult, and apply direct focused pressure. Before I do that, I'm going to keep my fingers in situ, and I'm going to try and scoop out any blood clots that are forming. So this blood that's in the cavity is now effectively useless. It's not going to do the patient any good, but it is going to hinder my performance when I try and pack the wound. I'm going to get as much of that out as I can. I'm then going to take my dressing, my Z-fold gauze. I'm going to make myself a little nodule on the end of the gauze. And I'm now, without removing the pressure from the actual artery site, I'm going to apply that over the top, and I'm going to swap the pressure over. I'm then going to keep focused pressure on that site at all times. And I'm going to do a relief in place type motion where the pressure never comes away unless it's been replaced by more direct digital pressure. And I'm going to continue to feed the gauze inside the wound, packing the entire cavity to ensure that the focused pressure is causing that blood to clot and causing primary hemostasis. Once we've got all our gauze packed in, we're then going to apply direct digital pressure with locked arms, forcing down. I'm going to hold that in place for at least 60 seconds or until the bleeding stops.